4 different coil geometries. Only one can win out. I've taken a liberty of writing how much weight each of these can lift. This one here, the worst of them, 310 grams. Over here, 360. Neither of the pancake coils turned out to work very well. The reason why this one is 50 grams higher is because of this center flange. It's creating a larger gap between the coil's windings and the solid steel shaft. Really quite simple, and that was enough to lose me 20% efficiency, give or take. That one didn't work very well. Pancake coil, same hypothesis. The wire is further away from the core, and that seems to be losing the power. This one here, second best. More of a square shape, so you can fit more wire closer to the core. However, ideally what I would want for a linear motor is it to be quite thin. But obviously if it's thin, it has to be wide in that dimension as well, and that's just not possible, because otherwise it's like these two, it's just losing power. So I've got to settle for something that's a bit more square. 420 grams as opposed to 310 and 360, so it's a bit better, and that is for a 45 watt power input. So I've improved this one here simply by removing these supporting rails that go around on the inside and extend under the wire for about a centimetre or so on either side. So at the base of that coil, the windings are only in the middle, and therefore there's a lot more wire that's not as close to the core as it should be, thusly. So with this one, I put the supporting posts on the outside, quite thin. In fact, it almost looks like one seamless piece, at least on the small camera screen, but obviously it's not. So all of this wire on this square coil goes all the way to the center, and as a result of that, this is the best, 445 grams it will lift, and they're all the same power input, obviously 45 watts. So the next step will be an entirely different test to see if these two coils, or this style of square coil, operates better with a smaller strand of wire. Because obviously if I can put a smaller wire on there, it's not that thick. I'll try and make all these coils, I should note, are all the same resistance as I've mentioned in previous videos, but what I'm about to try is putting some thinner wire on, also the same resistance. That way it's all very close to the core. The downside of that is, of course, I can't put as much current through it. But the key point is I'll find out whether it's actually better or not, or how much better it is. I suspect it will be, to have all that wire close to the core. And then once we know exactly how these things work, we can make it work like a real ripper, and it can tear up and down my shaft.
Or the monarchy happened to be, it's impossible not to feel happy for two people who, you know, when you look at them, they're obviously very much in love, so I wish them well.
I mean, in terms of the image of the whole country, obviously including your country, some people were a bit disappointed that Meghan Markle's mother didn't walk her down the aisle. Was that a disappointment to you?
I think it was her decision. You know, we can all have our own views. I actually thought the fact, I didn't see this part, but the fact that she walked the first part of the walk down the aisle on her own with children, you know, if you're looking for symbols, if you're looking for a proud statement of feminine principle, then I think you can find it there. But these things are very personal. Yes, yeah. It was a wedding in the full glare of publicity, but a bride on her wedding day will make decisions based on what feels right to her, and I think Meghan Markle was as entitled to do that as anybody else getting married is.
Now back to the day-to-day business of politics. The Scottish...
If we must.
I think we probably ought to.
Creating an awful lot of free energy. I don't know who's going to pay for it, but I'm really hoping it's not going to be me or anyone who uses the technology. So, your excitement is well placed. Sorry about the hideous lighting. I'll keep spinning around madly, as I'm deeply excited about this too. So I'll check back with you shortly on the progress of this extra thin wire and just how we can use technique to make it work to our favour. Peace out.
So yeah, that's kind of the plan for that week, and then next Friday.
This coil, with a couple of millimetres of wire on it, 6 ohms like all the rest, same input power like all the rest, 45 watts, was extremely poor. Really bad results, unfortunately. So we've got to figure out just why that is. I suspect that, unlike the rules of science, at least my understanding of them, dictates that the strength of the electromagnet is to do with how much power you put through it, not how many turns there are. But because this wire is extremely thin and the other wire is not so, I think the previous wire was 18 gauge and this is 24 gauge, instead of taking up 3/4 of the width of the coil, it's barely a millimetre or two. And because it's so thin, it has much higher resistance, therefore there's a lot less turns on it. So less turns means less lines of magnetic force, means less power. So I think I spotted the connection with Joseph Newman, and I was kind of hoping I'd find one. Seemed inevitable. But invariably that's not where I'm going, but I'm going to make a quick diversionary test to wind 4 strands on here, quad filer, 20 ohms per strand instead of 6. So if I count them all in parallel, well actually a bit more than 20 ohms. So if I get a quad filer coil that turns out to be about 6 ohms, I can run exactly the same test, exactly the same situations, only having 4 times the number of lines of force. So I'll check all them up and test it, because it's a lot of extra work to wind 4 parallel wires, but the other test I've managed to triple my efficiency twice, and if I can do that again I'd be thrilled. That's a little ambitious. If I can simply double my 2 triplings, I'd still be very pleased. This is probably not worth uploading unless it works, but I like laughing at myself, so I'll probably do that anyway. Okay, wish me luck. Four turns of wire, 24 gauge, each 20 ohms. When connected in parallel, gives a total coil resistance of 5.3 ohms. Insert the same 45 watts. And we have an upward thrust. One hand there. Again. An upward thrust of... you swear word, it didn't turn properly. Okay, push the coil down. Cocksucker. Okay, forgot to lube the shaft. Try again. Tear it. Camera down. Hold the coil. And we have a force breaking through of about 900 grams. And that's for a 45 watt input. Ow. So, pretty good. It's the best so far. but only by a very small margin. It is hardly worth 4 times the turns. So, I won't use it. I'm just going to try thicker wire. I should be drinking my coffee right now, but actually I can't be, I'm not going to. Instead, what I'm going to do is show you this website I just pulled up, and this coil. This website, and I know it doesn't come up very well, but basically it's used to calculate force. How many watts of input electricity for how many kilograms of force applied. It's a direct conversion. So for example, if I input 1 watt of energy, it will tell you what that's equivalent to in kilograms of force per meter per second. So the calculator says for 1 watt of energy, I should be getting 100 grams of force over 1 meter for 1 second. Right. So that coil with 4 sets of wires, I've redone it. They came out to 38 ohms each for each of the 4 turns. So that turned out to be pretty much exactly 10 ohms when all 4 are in parallel. And to make the math a little easier, I put on some large magnets, or the largest ones I've got at the moment, which is a shame. The other ones seem to be stuck in some foreign country, which is unfortunate. Dial in 1 watt with these large magnets on this new coil, and my scale, 220 grams of force, not the predicted 100. So today was a giant cock up, and we'll check back in tomorrow.